Hello, Saints. Today we're going to go over a method of dry pack canning. Oftentimes you have some dry goods that you need to store for a long period of time. This method utilizes a 6-gallon food grade bucket. I get mine at Honeyville Grains. Now you can also buy them in many other places, emergency supply, those types of stores. But all of them are essentially the same. But they're 6-gallon food grade bucket. We also use a 20-inch by 30-inch metallized or metallicized mylar bag. Now the metallicized mylar works a little better because it's a little stronger. It seems to hold things a little better. The other things that you will need is some clamps, a straight stick, a yardstick, or something that is straight and sturdy. You will need an iron, a hammer, and then the food item you are packing, and some oxygen absorbers, which are in this pack right here. We'll go over that in just a minute. The first step is to make sure that your equipment and the things that you are using are clean. So you inspect the bucket, make sure there's nothing in it. Inspect the bag to make sure it's of good repair, there's no holes or so forth in it, and make sure that things inside and out are clean. So the first step is to line the bucket with the metallized bag. You just push it down in here, like so. And then we'll pour the things into the bucket and tamp it down so that we utilize as much space as possible and we can store as much food as possible. Today we're going to pack pinto beans. And usually I buy 25-pound bags at the Logan Home Food Storage. One of these 6-gallon buckets will easily take a bag and a half. So that's approximately 37.5 pounds of pinto beans. So as you're pouring it in, you want to tamp it down so that we get all of the space utilized in the bucket. So that's approximately a bag and a half, and I'm going to tamp this down on the floor a little bit so we can use a little more force. So there's about 2 inches of space from the food product to the lip of the bucket, and that's just about right. Next, we add the oxygen absorbers. Now the oxygen absorbers absorb oxygen it has metal filings in it. I usually use 3 to 5 in these 6-gallon buckets. So I'm just sealing this bag so that the oxygen absorbers aren't exposed to oxygen because that ruins their effectiveness. So we'll be using a iron on medium setting with no steam to seal the bag. We're also going to use a small shop vac to remove all the excess air that we can before we seal it. So that's what we need the straight edge for. You put it across the top of the bucket. And then we get the corners nice and straight and use the clamps to hold them in place. And as soon as the iron is hot, then we just use it very carefully, and we don't want to get it too hot. We just want to seal the edges. We don't want to melt through it. So we start by sealing the edge, and then when we get a little space, we clamp it so that we've got a little bit easier time of folding this over and sealing the edges together. If you have an older iron or one that someone else in the house doesn't use regularly, that might be a little better of an idea, because if you ruin the iron, sometimes that causes a little bit of friction. So then we just move down the line, sealing the edge as we go and clamping it at certain spots to keep it stable. Now when we get near the end, we want to leave a space to insert the vacuum nozzle to suck out the remaining air. So just leave about 2 or 3 inches or enough space. Leave enough space for the vacuum nozzle. Then when we're just about done, we have enough space, we insert the nozzle and turn it on. And then when you've gotten quite a bit of air out, then you remove the nozzle and seal the rest of it. Now, it's somewhat easy to determine whether you have a seal or not. You lift the corners and you can see that there's a good seal inside and there's a vacuum inside the bag. Then last, you fold the corners in. Now the lid has a rubber seal inside and then a pair of, or a series of lips around the edge that will clamp it shut once it's adhered or pushed down firmly. The best way to do that is with, once again, a sturdy straight edge, a board, a 2x4, something like this, and pound it down. The lid in and of itself has a seal inside of it so that that seals air out of it, and also the metallicized Mylar bag is sealed inside it with a vacuum in it. Now it has oxygen absorbers in it that tend to operate over 72 hours. From 3 to 5 days, the oxygen absorbers will continue to absorb oxygen in a normal atmosphere. Inside here it will continue to do it until they're utilized or until they're full. And who knows how long that takes. But once all the oxygen inside is scavenged by the oxygen absorbers, then the food storage, or the food lasts a lot longer because there's no oxidation taking place. Now the last step is to label the bucket. Sometimes people get a label and put on the top. I just write on the bucket because I'm probably not going to reuse these buckets. Anytime we open a bucket, it ruins the lid. And then you have to use a new bucket, or at least I do. So, to recap, make sure that your materials are clean, the bucket and the metallicized Mylar bag. Make sure that the product that you're storing is free from infestation. And then fill the bucket, leaving 2 inches above the product to the lip of the bucket. Fold the metal bag over a straight edge or a board, clamp it. And that makes it a little easier to seal it with the iron. And then leave 2 or 3 inches to insert the nozzle, suck out the air, finish sealing the edge, and then fold those corners in, put the lid on, pound it down to make sure that the lid is correctly applied, and then label your bucket. And that's it. And this bucket is good for years and years, or the food in it will be. Another way to do it is just the metallized Mylar bags that I use this vacuum pack to do it this way. This is good in that it seals the food and preserves it, but it's the downfall is that it can be chewed through by mice or other rodents. But these are good for an inexpensive way to vacuum pack your food. I have also used the non-metallic Mylar, and you can see the oxygen absorber in there. The vacuum packer that I use for this is this little unit right here. It was relatively inexpensive, and I've had beans now in my storage room that I have done this way 10 years ago. And when we've opened them, they're still good. The beans, you can't tell them from ones that you purchased this year. Rice, on the other hand, you'll have to experiment with that. Rice has been processed, in other words, it's had the brand taken off of it, so it doesn't store as long. So tune in next week and we'll show you how to make a bowstring out of a squirrel hide. Thank you and good night.